Well, good morning. This is the Ja Renee, and this is the Ja Renee Healing. I've got a lot to say, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut to the chase. Today, I'm going to speak about suffering. And what's funny is that I last week was just reading the book of Job. And then today, one of my coworkers just happened to bring up Job, saying that he had the patience of Job. And I said, okay, let me let me get on here and be able to kind of speak on this because apparently maybe somebody needs to hear it. Um, so the first thing is that whenever we think about suffering, it's always in a bad way. It's always looked frowned upon as if if someone is suffering, maybe they deserved it, maybe they did something. um, but not all suffering is bad, and not all people to where it seems like they're not suffering is good. If that makes sense. And I know you're like, Janine, what are you talking about now? um, but it's it's first realizing that there's a lot that we have to unlearn. Um, and so once we understand that whatever we thought we knew about something may not be it, that kind of opens up the our minds, opens up the door for us to understand kind of what's being said. But sometimes suffering is a part of your journey so that you're able to get to uh, almost like the promised land, so to speak, get to where you're going. Um, Things happen, right? And especially when we're coming to know, coming to understand, we may not get certain things. So there's certain things that might come off as something that one would think, oh, is a suffering. Um, but maybe as time goes on, you realize that it wasn't that bad because I understand where it is that I was trying to get. Now there is certain times that even though you did nothing at all, um, it's you were still suffering, and it actually really was something, uh, to where it was painful. But let's talk about Job. So Job was someone that was very devout. He was very connected to the divine. And he started to experience things that weren't okay. Losing his kids, losing his home, becoming sick, being in pain. And one might say, well, if he was so connected to the divine, why would God allow that? Why is he going through that? What did he do? What was trying to be accomplished? And when I read it, again, just to ensure that I understood the story and what was happening, it was really all about, did Job trust God? It's not a matter of what happens to you. It's a matter of, do you trust in spite of? So sometimes you will experience suffering just to test how you trust the divine. Do you believe that no matter what's happening at this particular time, that because the divine is still in control, that everything is okay? Or do you just say, I don't like how I feel in this moment? And do you turn and you curse God and say, why are you doing this to me? What did instead of saying, I thank you in spite of, I don't understand why I'm going through this. However, you are still divine. That's it. It's a test. And so, continuing on with the story, Job had friends that was supposed to be his homies. But as they knew Job, knew the kind of person that Job was, when they saw that he was going through the different struggles and things, they figured that he must have done something, that he must have angered God in some kind of way because of it. And instead of them being supportive and really backing him up and saying, "No, this is my dude right here." You know what I'm saying? Like he wouldn't do this. Like I know he didn't do anything to deserve that. Like no, like I'll pray right now to the divine and ask him to help Job. They didn't do that. They sat there and they talked about him. They sat there and they pointed their fingers and tried to get cast judgment on why it was happening to him. And it's brought up like that because how many of us find ourselves in that very situation when instead of us actually knowing someone, knowing that they don't deserve what they go through, and not simply just being there, advocating for them, but kind of looking at them with a side eye? Because if you identify with that, and hopefully you're not one of the ones that would be the friends and you're more of a Job, but if you are a friend, it's an indication for you to see kind of the position and where you are, and be able to say, okay, let me get myself together. Let me be able to become more like him so that I can be connected to the divine. But let's go on. Job ends up meeting someone else that was outside of his friends, but just someone additional. And this person had a different perspective. This person was able to shed some light on how Job should be viewing it versus how, even though he was very, he was steadfast and he wasn't cursing God, but he was getting weary. And this guy pretty much gave him this perspective of an understanding of what I just explained about him, more so still needing to trust God in spite of. And after that meeting, it talks about Job actually being visited by the divine and having a conversation where, I don't remember the exact wording, but it was pretty much told to Job like, excuse me, did you create anything? Did you create the world? Did you make the sun or the moon? Did you do that? Oh no. Oh, okay. So since you didn't, you're definitely someone that's in a position to not question what I decide to do just because you feel hurt, you feel pain, and you believe you shouldn't. Understand why you're feeling this. Understand, because for one, throughout all of this was a test that the devil was trying to tempt Job so that Job uh, can curse God. And how many of us know that okay, yes, we hopefully you're dealing with the divine, but there's a lot of other spirits out there. There's a lot of other entities out there. And sometimes a way to be able to save you is to make you suffer temporarily. I've done it, but one thing about the divine is he doesn't leave you. So even though you suffered, when you're out of that suffrage, guess what? You get back everything, right? You get back way more than what you've even had before because you understood the suffering was you staying steadfast to the one that cares for you, the one that takes care of you. And none of those people talking, saying this and that could do anything for Job. Job was going through what he went through. They could do nothing. And with the one thing that they could do, they didn't do. So, and so, this is definitely going to be one that if you're not watching this um, on YouTube, go to YouTube, check it out, so that you're able to see the entire video. But it's just giving some insight to kind of what's felt when we're dealing with suffering sometimes. And suffering can happen is in many different ways. You can just, not be able to make ends meet, where it's just tough and it just seems like, oh man, I've how am I going to do this? Suffering can be the loss of someone. Suffering can be an ailment that you have. You know, Suffering can be loneliness that you feel. So there's many different ways that people are suffering, but the one thing that I beg you not to do is curse God in this moment. Curse the divine in this moment. Curse the one in this moment. Thank him in spite of how you feel. Because that's how you get out of your suffering. That's how you get out of your suffering. And so I hope I was able to help somebody today. Thank you once again. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.